design thinking is something that has also been very, very become very important to how we approach the modeling of what we want to build, to make sure that what we build is as effective as possible. Tell us about design thinking now. What is the contemporary design thinking process? What are its advantages and benefits? And specifically, how have you been incorporating that as part of your digital transformation projects?
I'm very fond of the whole fundamentals behind design thinking. For me, we have made, really steps forwards the last 10 years, also adopting agile methodologies. Smaller teams, multidisciplinary, putting business people and IT people together, continuously working and improving on what they're working on IT. And I think that's exactly what you're doing in design thinking as well. The world is complex, organizations are complex. It's not like an organization can come to you with a consultancy question, this is my problem, can you give me a solution? Yeah, we could, but we can never be sure if it would fit and what the consequences would be. So the essence of design thinking is put all relevant people in the room, start to think about the challenges, be inspired by the possibilities, do your brainstorm in the ideation phase, maybe have a second look if some ideas are feasible or not, have a proper look how all aspects could be transformed. It might be your products and services, it might be that you're going to aim for different customers, it might be your place in the ecosystem. Obviously, look at your business processes. It might even change the types of employees that you need. Law and regulation, never forget that, especially here in Europe. This is our solutions are dominated more and more by the AI Act, the privacy regulation. You could even say the kind of fundamentals of our state of law here. Your processes are affected. Can be affected. So there's all these aspects that are part of your digital transformation that you should look at. I really like design thinking, especially in this aspect. Just put the relevant people in the room, facilitate the process of being inspired, look at possibilities, try some out. If you do a whole week, like the Google way of design thinking, you can even prototype, test, and come to conclusions. We don't do that very often. More that we do shorter sessions, have a proper look at the outcomes, and take it up in the next session, elaborate on that, and in the end, doing the kind of same result. So it's not a whole week like as some companies do in design thinking, but it's in shorter periods.
What is the difference between what I'll refer to as traditional business process modeling? You have business analysts. They interview clients, they collect information about how a given task can be automated. They put together a workflow. They figure out the most efficient way to implement it with the technology they have. They present that to IT. How is the process of design thinking different from that?
Well, you do it in shorter iterations. You have the people that have really knowledge of each aspect can be made present as well. So it's not the business analyst walking around in bilateral conversations, interviewing everybody. It's all people in the room. Hey, it is sometimes quite difficult to facilitate that. So that's some other challenges in there. You do shorter iterations. I think the demands on business analysts, but also on us as architects, have become so high because there are so many aspects that you have to take in consideration if you want to design a solution for a specific problem. And it's not only the solution, you need to transform very often at the same time the company. So I think that the biggest difference is you do it in shorter iterations, and most of the relevant people, the stakeholders, as you could call them, they are present. And it can also involve even customers or partners in the ecosystem. You have to choose the people that you really need to be present of the session. Some others can be involved afterwards as well. Yeah.
What's the output of a design thinking process? Do you end up having mapped out a customer journey, the user interfaces? Do you produce customer experience scenarios that can then be tested out? You collect the information as you just described in shorter iterations collaboratively with those most relevant to the project, and then you produce. What do you produce that is then carried forward?
That depends a bit. There's some customers who do this design thinking process in order to generate ideas for their innovation labs. So the end result should be, you could say, initiatives sharp enough to start really realizing the prototype after the session. So they're not made during the sessions, they're made after the sessions, involving other people and some more specialists as well. Other companies do it in order to generate initiatives that are really going to be put in their portfolio process afterwards. So it's kind of being put in the agile process and being prioritized and being carried out afterwards. But all the time, the requirement should be sharp and focused enough so that everybody understands this is the initiative, or this is, for example, the epic. This is the idea, this is the value, this is the user group, this is kind of the functionality, this is kind of how the user interface could look like. I remember when we, and you as well, Thomas, we were still very much involved in the field of architecture. The standard definition of architecture has the fundamental organization of a system embodied in its components. When I always liked this word fundamental. It's like the most important, the most essential. Requirements have to be made clear and must have been designed, because that really helps to get a good overview to everybody. And then it can be bringing into an initiative for either their innovation lab or already being put in the channel of their agile process.
Okay. With design thinking, you produce exactly what you just described in a specification or in some form of formal documentation. You build a prototype based on that. Everything looks good. You put it into production. Now, over time, you collect feedback. You assess failure conditions. You see what worked and what didn't work. How often do you go through that cycle? When do you revisit what you've built? Do you revisit it by carrying out a design thinking iteration again to reassess, to improve? And with the digital transformation initiatives in particular, does that life cycle ever end? Or are organizations constantly reassessing, improving, reiterating design thinking steps to do so?
Yeah, I think the last that you're saying is definitely true. It is also the core of agile, the agile way of working. Keep on iterating. We do design thinking on different levels. When we start at a company that is kind of new to this process and new to AI, we involve normally people from innovation departments, the most innovative people from the business departments that are most keen on trying out AI. That delivers the first ideas in production, continuously refinement, and also evaluation. Very often we go on with the same process, but then with other people. For example, their senior users from the departments that really want to make extra steps. We're talking about transformation. This really helps to get commitment to, if necessary, help people transforming their processes or even products in there. So yeah, the whole way of design thinking can be integrated very good with the agile way of working, and keep on producing, keep on adapting, keep on changing. There's one thing that we always focus on quite early as well, like, is the organization, does it have the people with knowledge and experience in order to help design and build and configure the AI part of the solution? Because in agile, everything depends on the teams, the agile teams that do production and keep on iterating. Quite often they ask us to start a new team in the beginning. But then the focus afterwards should be like learning and training this company to get the proper people in these teams in the same place, so that the teams become part of the agile organization as well.